This year's Index of Economic Freedom by the Heritage Foundation and the Wall Street Journal has shown that Hong Kong continues to be the world's freest economy. Singapore kept its place in second and Australia edged up to third. New Zealand also edged to the upside, replacing the US in fifth place. Well, the index measures an array of criteria from business freedom to property rights freedom and investment freedom. Asia's average level of economic freedom did, however, come in below the world average, but the editors of the index predict that this could change if India and China press on with their economic reforms. Well, Ed Feulner is president of the Heritage Foundation, and he joins us now live from our Hong Kong studio in a first on CNBC interview. And joining us also as our guest host is Leonardo Nageswaran, managing director at Bank Julius Baer, joining us live on set in Singapore. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Ed, let me get to you first of all. I see that Hong Kong not only kept its first place, but it also slightly improved its score. What is it doing right?
Hong Kong continues to do the right thing, Mandy, and it's a great pleasure for me to be back and to officially release our 15th annual Index of Economic Freedom on CNBC. Specifically, the reason why Hong Kong did a little bit better this year was because of the cuts in the marginal rates for both individuals and corporations during the last years. It already is very, very high on virtually all 10 of our measures, but that particular activity, as I said to this chief executive yesterday, gave Hong Kong an extra little boost over number 2, Singapore.
Yeah, but still, if you look at the average of Asia, as we mentioned in our introduction, compared to the rest of the world, it still is below. So who in particular, in terms of the Asian countries, are letting us down in their freedom?
Asia really is the region of contrasts, Mandy. You have 4 of the top 5, Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. Then you have at the bottom, you have Burma, North Korea, Bangladesh, other countries way at the bottom, pulling down the average. The 2 big ones, of course, in Asia, India and China, continue to make slight marginal improvements, moving up just 1 or 2 notches a year. Both of them could do much, much better. We'd love to see that happen, because this is not just a measure of economic freedom. What we have proven now over these 15 years is more economic freedom means more prosperity, means higher per capita income. And it's just been proven time after time, country after country, system after system.
Ed, I thought it was interesting that the index showed that economic freedom is retreating in Russia, Venezuela and Nigeria. Is that due to heightened resources nationalism, where governments are increasing their hold on the resources sector?
It really is. You don't have a rule of law anymore in Venezuela. We know what Putin has been trying to do, what the current crisis going on right now in terms of gas transmission into Europe. It's economic nationalism of the worst sort of state control over major resources. And of course, they don't have the luxury of the $130, $140 a barrel of oil that we had just 6-8 months ago. So everybody's kind of scampering around now, trying to do some of the bad things. One of the points I should emphasize, too, of course, is that the index, we had to come up with a specific timeline, a deadline for all data. So all of our data is as of June 30 last year. We are afraid that probably the index in 2010, in view of massive government interventions around the world, is very likely going to show declines in economic freedom in a lot of countries that have been doing pretty well recently.
Ed, this is Van here from Singapore. Let me sort of pull you back from Latin America to Asia. The fact that China and India are somewhere in the middle, I think both countries will probably have contrasting scores on some of the subcomponents. I would like to know whether India is scoring poorly on the micro dimensions of economic intervention or state role, whereas China is scoring poorly perhaps on the macro dimensions with its control over how the country is headed. Is that the way it comes about?
You've got it just about right. Contrast a big one with a little one. Hong Kong, an entrepreneur can start a business in 1 day, filling out just a couple forms. In India, it takes months. It involves going to myriad government agencies to get that permission. In China, on the other hand, you have real problems in terms of rule of law, of property rights, who really has the rights. What happens if you, in fact, do what is supposed to be done at the provincial level, but then somebody at the national level changes things? So both could make great improvements. I think India does. It also has some problems on the property rights front in terms of clogged up judiciary system. And from my experiences and visits to India, they're trying very hard to make the right kind of improvements, but quite a ways to go.
Yeah, it's a bureaucracy, it's a red tape still in India, right, Ed?
Yeah, it really is, Martin. And you see it all the time, and as well as lack of infrastructure and investment in appropriate things there. Asia really is the land of contrasts, from the best to the worst.
Indeed. Ed, great to talk to you, sir. As always, Ed Feulner, president of the Conservative Heritage Foundation, also Dr. Vananathan Nageswaran from Bank at Julius Baer. He is our guest host for this hour of the show.